Good, happy Saturday afternoon, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this afternoon newscast of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this afternoon, so let's begin. First up, let's take a look at the COVID-19 information for New Hampshire and the United States. And here is a look at that COVID-19 information. There are 2,310 number of people in New Hampshire have tested positive for COVID-19. 1,091,038 number of people in the United States who have tested positive. 81 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 270 number of people who have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire. And 64,203 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. This map right here of New Hampshire shows you where cases of COVID-19 are in towns and cities of New Hampshire. In Sandwich, 1 to 4 cases of COVID-19. This chart here, new cases each day in New Hampshire in the purple, daily new positive COVID-19 cases in the orange, new hospitalizations, and in the red are the deaths. This chart right here, current cases. In the purple, total current COVID-19 cases, and in the orange, current hospitalizations. In this chart right here, cumulative totals, total COVID-19 cases, total hospitalizations, deaths, and recovered. This chart here shows you cases by age group, cases by female and male, and cases by risk information. This chart here shows you race/ethnicity of cases and % of New Hampshire population. And again, your common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, cough, chills, and difficult breathing, how it spreads, and prevention tips. And be sure to stay with the Riley King Network for the latest of your COVID-19 information. Outdoor dining, haircuts, camping allowed with restrictions under new order. New stay-at-home order allow some businesses to reopen if they take COVID-19 precautions. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
When you cut lawns for a living, reliability matters. The Kubota commercial lineup with purpose-built mowers like...
It's called Stay at Home 2.0, an attempt to safely reactivate parts of New Hampshire's economy that have been under COVID-19 restriction. Public health officials will be watching closely to see if the moves unleash a new wave of infections.
It could be 2, possibly up to 3 weeks before we would see an increase if one was going to happen.
Starting right away, campgrounds will be restricted to only New Hampshire residents, and towns will be empowered to close their public campgrounds. On May 4th, hospitals will be allowed to resume certain time-sensitive care procedures like MRIs or CT scans and certain procedures for chronic pain and medical testing. On May 11th, golf courses will be allowed to reopen with restrictions. Participation will be limited to New Hampshire residents and members of private clubs. Use of clubhouses will be prohibited. Also on May 11th, barbers and hair salons will be allowed to reopen, serving customers by reservation only with limited open chairs and PPE required. And on May 11th, retail will be allowed to reopen with 50% occupancy and PPE for employees. Restaurants will get their shot at a very limited reopening on May 18th. Takeout services will be augmented by outdoor seating only. Tables must be 6 feet apart, seating no more than 6 people per table, and servers must wear face coverings.
We're just not at the point where we're comfortable allowing the indoor seating just yet, but that's probably a next step, hopefully in the near future.
In terms of the virus itself, today public health officials announced they're starting to see some positive trends in the data related to this pandemic, even as the death toll in long-term care facilities continues to add up.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Rochester police see increase in domestic violence-related arrests during COVID-19. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Strict attention to detail. That's what sets Kubota construction equipment apart. It's how we...
Sobering new numbers this morning. The Rochester Police Department says they're seeing a rise in domestic violence-related arrests during this pandemic. Police made 18 DV arrests last month compared to 7 from a year ago. That's a 157% increase. Police say one potential cause is that the abuser has more access to the victim since both are spending time at home during the stay-at-home order.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. "38 additional Walmart employees at Massachusetts store test positive for coronavirus. A total of 61 positive cases among employees since early April. A Walmart store remained temporarily closed Saturday as city officials awaited coronavirus test results from the nearly 400 employees who work there. The store was shut down on Wednesday after city health officials discovered nearly 24 employees tested positive for the coronavirus. Worcester officials said 258 employees who work at the store on the 25 Tobis Bowland Way were tested on Thursday. Those test results showed an additional 38 workers tested positive for COVID-19. Combined with the previous test, a total of 61 workers at the store have tested positive for the coronavirus, or approximately 16% of the workers at the store. The city said 119 employees who were tested for the virus on Friday awaited their test results. Walmart was ordered to close by the city on Wednesday for deep cleaning by an independent professional cleaning company. During an inspection on Tuesday, city officials found that not all employees of the Walmart were wearing a face covering while on duty. The company told News Center 5 that a mandatory mask policy has been in place for all Walmart employees for at least the past 10 days. Augusta said city medical director Dr. ordered the store closed and will not allow to reopen until it has been professionally cleaned and all employees have been tested for coronavirus. Worcester City Manager Edward Augusta said the store had a cluster of COVID-19 cases over the past 3 weeks, with the bulk of the cases occurring over the past 7 days. Augusta said the earliest positive test result were received on April 8th, and a bulk of them in the past 7 days. A Walmart spokesperson said the Worcester store was slated for a one-day closure on Thursday as part of a company-initiated program of cleaning and restocking in response of COVID-19 pandemic. Walmart initially planned to reopen the store on Friday, but the spokesperson said the company is working with Worcester officials to ensure that all necessary steps are taken before reopening. According to the spokesperson, most of the associates at the Worcester store who have tested for COVID-19 have not been to work in the last several days. Walmart said a third-party specialist sanitized the store on Thursday. Augustia said the store had a cluster of COVID-19 cases over the past 3 weeks, with the bulk of the cases occurring over the past 7 days. He said the earliest test results were received on April 8th. City officials said they were alerted to the situation by social media posts about all of the cases and then looked into it. Maine restaurant owner defies stay-at-home order, loses health insurance license. Sorry about that. Let's take a listen to that video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
Orders.
In Oxford County, an act of defiance by a restaurant and brewery in the age of COVID-19.
I'm staying open. I'm defying the order with no licenses, and they're going to fine me every day.
Under Governor Mills's executive order, restaurants in Maine can't open their dining rooms until June 1st. Rick Savage, owner of Sunday River Brewing Company, says he isn't waiting.
We had food ordered. We were making chowders and chilies and all that stuff. You know, and we're like, no, we're opening.
It was following through on a promise he made on national television, and that stand bringing out hundreds of diners that wrapped around the building. The turnout meant they started serving food at noon instead of 4 p.m.
I want to feel like a human being again, and here I am. Here we are.
We were in line probably 45 minutes in the rain, and I'm soaking wet.
Not too many observing social distancing or wearing masks. Inside, Savage says they leave every other table vacant for spacing reasons.
We don't tell them to wear a mask in here. We're not dressing them. We're just trying to feed them.
Violating the governor's orders are punishable as a misdemeanor crime. And while no law enforcement stopped by the brewery, today's lunch and dinner services cost Savage his health license, and that suspension automatically suspends the restaurant's liquor license. When we asked if he was worried that any of his customers today could become sick with COVID-19, Savage said,
"No, I'm not. I'm not afraid at all. Because these people have been quarantined for how long?"
And while he tells us he was planning to do it all again on Saturday, by Friday night, he shares that because they're worried about their brewery license issued by the federal government, that they won't be open again until next week. From Bethel, I'm Mary Kate Mannion for WMTW News 8.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Some malls reopen across the country. What changes will shoppers see as they return to a new normal? Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
We're going to start this half hour with the millions of Americans who may be hitting the malls this weekend for the first time since some of the restrictions have been lifted. What they see when they arrive may be a lot different than what they're used to, and ABC's Stephanie Ramos is on that story. Stephanie, good morning to you.
Dan, good morning. Malls here in New Jersey, they've been closed since mid-March, and there's no date yet on when they will reopen. But so many malls across the country are welcoming shoppers back this weekend, and they say they have new safety precautions in place. This morning, dozens of shopping malls across the country are back open as some states end stay-at-home orders. In Oklahoma, shoppers crowding doors in Tulsa, some wearing masks, others not as they walked inside. Woodland Hills Mall, which is owned by Simon Properties Group, says they're implementing safety measures, including thorough hand sanitizing stations, social distancing signage, even elevators being limited to only 4 people.
We had more customers than anticipated.
Simon reopened 31 of its malls across 8 states Friday. More expected on Monday. This morning, department store chain Macy's is set to welcome back shoppers too. 68 stores will open Monday in states like Georgia and Texas, where stay-at-home restrictions have loosened. And in less than 2 months, Macy's plans to have almost all 800 stores back up and running. To assure shoppers, CEO Jeff Gannett says health and safety measures will be enhanced. At the beauty counter, for instance, customers are no longer permitted to touch testers. There will be limited fitting rooms, and all employees will wear masks. At this Nebraska Crossing Outlet Mall, one customer describing her experience on day 1 of its reopening.
I feel like they are being safe. It feels like everybody's just kind of scared to be next to each other. So it's just, everybody's just moving at their own pace, but it still shouldn't be like huge amount of people in one area.
The owner of this mall, Rod Yates, says he has a plan to help customers shop safely by having more than 20 hand sanitizing stations spread out across the mall and plexiglass barriers set up at food counters.
We're going to limit the entries into the mall, and we're going to have the customers come in and be greeted by our security staff, and they will be providing complimentary masks to each one of our customers.
Simon Properties Group says if you do go to their malls, be prepared to wear a mask or face covering. They're also closing areas like children's play spaces where they say you wouldn't be able to maintain social distancing. Eva.
All right, Stephanie Ramos for us. Let's.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this afternoon edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. Thank you for watching this afternoon edition. Have a great rest of your afternoon. And I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye.